Hey, guys. About 3 weeks ago, my sister-in-law Addison, 26F, asked me to help her plan and organize her first wedding anniversary party. I'm 30F, an event planner by profession, and I usually charge for my services, but for her, I decided to do it for free because she is family now. I've known her for the past 5 years, since that's how long my husband, 30M, and I have been together. We've been married for 2 years now, and I got along well enough with his family so far. But this one incident has literally changed everything, since it seems like his entire family is against me right now. So when Addison approached me to help her plan the party, I obviously assumed that she was going to pay for everything. Or maybe her husband would, but at no point had we discussed my involvement in any of this. I had already canceled my personal charges for her. I was not about to go out of my way to help her out. And she was throwing quite an extravagant and lavish party as well, so it was bound to be quite expensive. That's why the people that I was dealing with for food and decor needed a certain amount of money up front as a deposit. When I spoke to Addison about it, she kept telling me that she would pay me all of it after the party in one go, and I had no reason to doubt her because we had had a good relationship so far. Both she and her husband were working individuals, so I didn't think there was anything wrong. However, around 3 days back, the night before the party, she told me that she actually expected me to cover all the expenses, and that's why she hadn't paid me anything so far. I had calculated everything and called her up to let her know how much money she would need to spend, and when I told her, she started acting very dicey, and eventually, she told me that the reason she had been holding out on this for so long was because she actually expected me to pay it. I was obviously surprised because we hadn't had that discussion at any point, and I asked her why she had assumed that, and she said that she knew I made a lot of money and so did her brother, so there was no reason that we couldn't afford to do this for them. I started panicking because everything had been planned and she was saying this at the very last minute, so I told her that this was absolutely not acceptable, but she said that she and her husband were trying to save money because they were actually pregnant and she had quit her job already. They were going to use this party as an opportunity to announce their pregnancy as well, and she expected me to understand where she was coming from because everything was quite expensive, and now that they were only going to be living off of one income, they did not want to spend money unnecessarily. She even suggested that maybe this could be my gift to her, but at that point, all I could see was the calculations that I had done, and it just pissed me off that she was acting so entitled. For the record, I have my own business, and yes, I do make a comfortable living. So does my husband. He is a software developer. So Addison was not wrong about the fact that we could definitely afford to do this for them, but I wouldn't say that they are any worse off than us. Addison herself might not have had a very high-paying job. She had been working in marketing at a relatively new firm for the past couple of years, but her husband, 28M, made up for it since he is a pretty good tax expert. Addison had a desk job. She wasn't even showing up yet, so she had no reason to quit her job so early. Whether they feel that they can afford this party or not is not my business, because they can totally choose to start saving money right now, but that doesn't make them entitled to mine. So after arguing with Addison for a bit, I just hung up because it was pointless, since she had pretty much made up her mind that all the expenses were going to be covered by me, and she was relentlessly trying to convince me that this made total sense. I was very frustrated, and I told her brother, my husband, about what was going on. He was equally pissed off and even tried to call her up and speak to her, but she was being incredibly stubborn and refused to back down, saying that we were rich enough to afford this and that she couldn't believe we were being so stingy. So after a while, I made a very difficult choice and canceled everything. I had to make some calls, and everyone was really upset because the cancellation was taking place at the very last minute, and of course, it was quite inconvenient for them as well. So I had to come up with some lie about how the person that we were throwing a party for had fallen very sick at the very last minute, just so I wouldn't piss off, since I deal with these people quite frequently due to my profession. So not only had Addison caused me a lot of trouble in my personal life, she also would have made quite a mess in my professional life if I hadn't lied about why we had to cancel the party. Anyway, I believe that after the way she had acted with us, I had no reason to look out for her. So I prepared an invoice and emailed it to her with all the money that she owed me. I had promised the vendors and the owners of the venue they would get all the money that they were owed, since they would definitely be demanding the full price of everything, even though the event had been cancelled, since the cancellation had taken place at the very last minute. And I even added my charges because clearly, Addison had been planning to use me and my resources, and she had taken me for granted. She was trying to act smart with me, so I decided that I was going to teach her a lesson, and I don't think that I did anything wrong. But when I sent her that email, saying that I had canceled everything and this was what she owed me, people seemed to have lost their minds. Addison herself was quite upset, and she called me several times after that email, but I did not pick up any of her calls, and she kept trying to text me, trying to tell me that I just couldn't do this to her, but I already had done it, so I just blocked her. After I blocked her, I started receiving phone calls and messages from my in-laws. That was quite surprising because my in-laws and I have always gotten along well, and this is pretty much the first time that we have been in such a serious fight. Anyway, I was really shocked that they were on her side because she was obviously so wrong. She had no right to expect me to pay for all of this, especially when it was all so expensive. Besides, she hadn't even spoken to me about it before this and had dropped a bombshell on me at the very last minute, so I had every right to be pissed off and cancel everything. I tried to explain that to my in-laws, but they also insisted that my husband and I were the ones being stingy and miserable in this case. Apparently just because we make a lot of money, that makes the family entitled to whatever we have when they need it. I don't even know how that makes sense, but apparently, to them, it does. Even by their logic, I'm pretty sure that Addison and her husband don't really need our financial help right now. They are not doing very badly in life, and the only reason that they don't want to pay for the party is because they are the ones being stingy, not us. We were just arguing about this because I really wanted my in-laws to see my point, and I don't really give up on relationships that easily, but after what they said, I don't think I can ever go back to having a good relationship with them. All of a sudden, while arguing, my in-laws started telling me that the only reason I had canceled everything without even speaking to anyone was because I was jealous of their daughter, and I wanted to sabotage her party on purpose. I had no idea where that came from, and I was very blindsided, so I wasn't able to say anything in my defense, and they continued to talk absolute crap. They thought that I was just jealous that she was pregnant and I was not, even though I had been married for longer than her. And that's why, when I found out that she was going to announce her pregnancy at the party, I got pissed off and decided to sabotage the event. None of that was true at all, and it was quite insulting that they had even suggested something like this, so I did not even bother to argue after that because the discussion had been taken to such a nasty level. I hung up on them and blocked them as well. After blocking them, I spoke to my husband and I completely broke down because I really hate fighting with my loved ones, and I actually had considered my in-laws as my family. So I was very upset that this was happening, and even more so that they were treating me like this over something so petty. I even spoke to my parents and they comforted me on the phone and reassured me that I hadn't done anything or demanded anything that was out of bounds. That made me feel slightly better, and I was able to go to sleep at almost 3 a.m. that day. The next day onwards, it was business as usual because I couldn't exactly skip work just because I was feeling bad. I had sent Addison the invoice, but now, it depended on her when she would send the money, and only then would I be able to pay everybody off. I was just hoping and praying that she sent the money soon enough because I didn't want to keep everybody waiting for long, since my reputation was at stake here. Around the evening, at the same time that the party was supposed to be held, I received a call from my brother-in-law. I picked up because I wanted to know what he had to say about the situation, since so far, we had only had good interactions and he had come off as a generally level-headed person. I'm really thankful that when he called me, he was the only person who actually apologized for what was happening. He told me that he had no idea that Addison had been planning to demand that I cover the expenses of the party, and if he had known, he would have put an end to it. He told me that he still did not know why she had done any of this, but he wanted to take the fall for it, apologize, and pay the money that I was owed. I won't lie, it was a huge relief for me when he sent me the money so I could pay everybody off. I thanked him for being reasonable, and it was then that he told me in confidence that this incident was not the first time that Addison had acted really entitled, and for the past couple of weeks, she had been having problems with almost everyone. He sounded really exhausted from having to deal with Addison, and I don't even blame him. I tried to comfort him and tell him that everything would be fine, but he said that if everything did not turn out fine, he might have to take some measures, and that wouldn't be good for the family. I was shocked because even though Addison and her husband have been married for just 1 year, they have been together for a lot longer. They have been together since their first year of college, and they got married late because both of them wanted to establish themselves and their careers first. So for him to even imply that he was thinking about leaving Addison because of her behavior, it was a huge deal. When I got back home, I told my husband everything, and even he was quite shocked. He was then about to call Addison up and talk to her about it, so he could warn her and she could maybe change her behavior. And this is where the problem really started, because I did not want him to do that. Personally, I believe that if she is being difficult to deal with, not just with me but with everyone else as well, then her husband is well within his rights to leave her. Regardless of the fact that she's pregnant, it doesn't give her a license to be nasty to everyone. And more importantly, she should realize that this kind of behavior is not fine by herself. I don't think that we need to interfere or even tell her about any of this, because not only is it likely to cause more trouble in their marriage, I think it's just not necessary. She hasn't even apologized for anything, neither have my in-laws. So we don't owe it to her to help her out here. If she knows what's good for her, she'll be able to save her own marriage and do it without our help. And after the way his family has treated me, I really just don't want anything to do with them at the moment. I know for a fact that if my husband calls her up to warn her and get her to fix her behavior, they are going to somehow drag me into this, because that's how they got this information and make me the scapegoat. But my husband thinks that I'm being too harsh on his family, and that no matter what has happened, we should still tell Addison what her husband said so she can at least try to change herself, or at least talk to him. And I don't think it's our place to say anything, and more importantly, I don't want to say anything because I want her to learn a lesson that she can't just treat people however she wants and expect to get away with it. This is what my husband and I have been arguing about for the past couple of days, and I'm not sure if I'm in the right here anymore or not now. So Ida, for not wanting to warn my pregnant sister-in-law that her husband might leave her if she doesn't change her behavior because I want her to learn a lesson? Update 1. First of all, thank you so much for all the comments. My husband and I have finally been able to come to a common conclusion, finally. We had been fighting about this for the past couple of days, and it was really getting in the way of our relationship and our marriage. And we did not want to end up like Addison and her husband, so we decided to talk it out. I was feeling very hurt and upset by the way his family had treated me, and he acknowledged the fact that what they had done was completely unfair. Especially the things that his parents had said about me, like I was jealous of Addison, and I was insecure, which is why I was going out of my way to sabotage her party and stuff. It was simply untrue, and of course, I was hurt because I had had a good relationship with him so far. So for them to turn the tables so quickly, it was just unexpected, and that's why I had taken this so hard. But he explained to me that Addison was still his sister, no matter how she had behaved, and he would never be able to forgive himself if he knowingly did not prevent her marriage from being ruined, especially when she was pregnant. And I guess I can understand where he's coming from, because even I have my siblings, and I decided to put myself in his shoes and think about it for a while, and I guess I would have done the same for my siblings too. So I told him that he could speak to Addison if he wanted to, but I wasn't saying a word. He told me the most important reason that he wanted to save their marriage was that she was expecting, and he had always known that she had a tendency to act out, but if it reached a level, even her husband could not tolerate it anymore, she needed to be told. If she's never told, she will never be able to change. I tried to point out that both of us had tried to tell her that her behavior was not okay on the day that she decided to tell me that she wanted me to pay for the party, but I guess that was different since we were all yelling at each other, and it was more of an argument rather than us trying to explain our point to each other calmly. My husband told me that this time, he's going to speak to her one-on-one and try to have a real heartfelt conversation, because he thinks that's what is needed here. And if even that does not work, and she still feels like she does not need to fix anything about herself, then she's on her own. But right now, it's worth a try to at least attempt to save her marriage for her sake. That being said, we are still not going to speak to my in-laws. My husband told me that with his sister, he at least has an incentive to speak to her because he really thinks that he can salvage the situation. But with my in-laws, there is no speaking to them until they acknowledge their mistake and apologize for the way they spoke to me. And that's something that both of us agree with, so there's no argument regarding it. And regarding Addison and what exactly she has been up to, we don't really know. Many people had been asking me exactly what had she done that had pissed her husband off so much that he was actually considering leaving her over it. Truth be told, on the phone call where he had apologized to me, he had only told me that she was being difficult and implied that he was going to leave if she did not change. But I had a lot on my mind that day, so I did not probe further and ask more questions. I just assumed that they might have been having problems in their marriage that he did not want to share, and if he had wanted to share it, he would have done so already without me needing to prompt him. Basically, I did not want to pry, so I did not ask. I'm guessing that she tried to pull off similar stunts with other people as well, which is probably very embarrassing for him. Anyway, we are going to find out, because this evening, my husband is going to visit Addison and talk to her. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do hope that they are able to sort things out, because my husband and Addison have always been very close. And I know that he really values his family, so staying away from them and not speaking to them has been very difficult for him. I try to think of a life where I'm not speaking to my parents or my siblings, and it's literally unimaginable. So I know the past couple of days have been really hard for him, and I do hope that my in-laws come to their senses and apologize to me, not for my sake, but for their own sons. Because I also know for a fact that if it comes to me, he's not going to hesitate to cut them off forever if the need arises. Even with Addison, he probably would not have spoken to her and tried to fix the situation, had it not been for what her husband had said to me about wanting to leave her. Anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself, so I'm just gonna wait and watch. Update 2. So my husband just came back from Addison's house about an hour ago, and here's where the situation is at. Apparently, when he showed up, both of them were at home. He had spoken to Addison beforehand, and she had told him that her husband was flying out for a business trip today, but apparently, that got postponed and she forgot to inform him. But since he was there, he decided that he was not going to leave without speaking to her. I guess her husband had also figured out what exactly he was here to talk to her about, so instead of leaving the room, he decided to actively be part of the conversation. My husband told me that Addison was quite blindsided when she actually found out what he was here to talk to her about, because she had assumed that he was going to apologize to her for yelling at her on the phone the other day because of our fight. And when he told her what her husband had said to me, she immediately started freaking out on him, and the two of them had to get her to calm down before they could continue with the discussion. While Addison and her husband were talking, my husband was able to figure out why exactly he had been so pissed, and I guess it was completely natural for him to be angry. I would have been too if I was in his place. So apparently, I was right about her having tried to pull off such an entitled act with other people as well. And that's why their entire circle of friends has ostracized them now, which can definitely be upsetting. A few weeks ago, she had gone out to lunch with a couple of their friends, but her husband had not, since he was busy with work that particular day. However, instead of paying for her share, she insisted that everyone else cover for her because she had to save for the future. They did not want to create a scene at the restaurant, so her friends quietly covered for her. But then later on, when she sent invitations to the anniversary party, even then, she told her friends that they had to contribute to the party as well, and she was planning on asking her family members to do so. I guess that was the last straw for them, and they declined their invitations without even offering any explanation. When her husband found out about what she had said, he flipped out on her and they ended up fighting. So when she invited the rest of her relatives, she did not ask them to contribute to the expenses. Because by then, she had a different plan in mind, namely me. Things had already been very strained between Addison and her husband, and her fight with me just made everything worse. And on the day that we were speaking on the phone, they had had a fight yet again. Because Addison did not want him to pay me off or apologize to me, at least not so soon. Her husband did not want this to get dragged out because it was quite an embarrassing situation for him. So he just couldn't hold back and ended up saying that thing about wanting to leave her because of her behavior. Addison ended up having a total meltdown because she couldn't believe that he would say such a thing, in spite of being with her for so long. Her husband tried to comfort her, but he also maintained his point and said that he had not said anything that he regretted because of the way that she had been acting for the past couple of days. It was just ridiculous and unacceptable. He said he was still willing to give their relationship a chance, and he had actually been planning on discussing this with her once he came back from his business trip. But because my husband had decided to visit them, he had figured out what the purpose of that visit was and believed that now was the right time to have this discussion. Because now, since her brother was here, maybe he could also help her understand where she was going wrong. At first, she just got crying and was not receptive to what they were saying at all. But once she had calmed down and stopped crying, she explained that she was really nervous about becoming a mother, and she had made a lot of rushed decisions because she just did not feel prepared enough. So instead of preparing herself mentally, she decided that she was going to save all the money that she could and try to at least prepare herself financially. Clearly, she was quite distressed and was going through something. My husband's family has never had issues with money, so I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know why this was the one thing that she was fixating on, but at least she acknowledged the fact that she was acting out. There are still a lot of unanswered questions, but from what I know, my husband and my brother-in-law were able to speak to Addison and get her to acknowledge that the way she had behaved was not fine. She said that she was going to apologize to everyone and hope that we would accept her apology. I don't know about her friends, but I definitely will accept her apology. That doesn't mean that I'm going to go back to speaking to her, but clearly she is struggling mentally and I don't want to add to her troubles. So when her apology comes through, I'm just going to accept it but still maintain a distance from her. As of now, my husband told me that Addison and her husband are going to try couples counseling, and she's going to speak to a professional about her mental health because obviously something has gone very wrong here. She has made a lot of irrational and crazy decisions in the recent past, and to prevent that from happening as pregnancy progresses, it's necessary for her to speak to a professional. At this point, I really just hope that she gets better and that she has a healthy and safe pregnancy. Update 3. Hey, everyone. So it has been 3 months since my last update and I'm still very much maintaining a distance from my in-laws. I have had absolutely no contact with my mother-in-law or my father-in-law, but I am keeping in touch with Addison just to be civil. My in-laws never bothered to apologize to me after all the horrible things that they said, and they even cut my husband off for taking my side. A couple of weeks after my last update, they sent him an email saying that they were really disappointed in him because he had chosen me over his own family. They called me cold-hearted and said that my behavior had proven that I would never be a family woman and my career and business would always come first. So I guess the past couple of years that they had behaved so nicely with me was all just a facade. It hurts that they had been pretending to be nice to me for so long, but whatever, it's not my loss. I'm sure that they will come crawling back when I get pregnant, but that's up to me to decide. As for Addison, things are going well with her pregnancy, and ever since she got the help that she definitely needed, she has been doing better. She and her husband were able to work through their differences, and from what I have heard from my husband, she's back to normal now. She apologized to me a couple of days after the intervention and said that the way she had behaved with me came from a really dark place, and she was going to seek help. I wished her the best and that was it. We did not speak for a couple of weeks after that. We started speaking to each other once again just 2 weeks ago when she texted me to let me know that she was doing better now, and that she would really love to rebuild the relationship that we had. She said that she knew she was the one who had ruined everything between us, but she genuinely valued the point that we had and would love to work on it. I told her that I would think about it, and initially, I was a bit skeptical, but she was really respectful of my boundaries, so we started speaking again. This time, I really hope that it sticks because she has always been a pleasant person other than that one incident. But anyway, that's how things have worked out, and I'm pretty happy with how the situation is right now.